Welcome to the Intuitive Ascending Mind podcast with your host, Alia Yasmin Khan. Throughout this series, you'll learn how cultivating a growth mindset can unlock your true potential and impact every aspect of your life. Join Alia and her guest each episode as they dive deep into strategies for personal development and lasting transformation. Now, here's Alia.
Everyone, welcome to the Intuitive Ascending Mind podcast. Joining me on today's show is Sam Ayeni. Sam is an author and has so much information and knowledge about the mind, how it works, and how we can better understand how our mind impacts our reality. Welcome to the show, Sam. How are you?
I'm good, Alia. Thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. So, Sam, tell us a little bit. Let's start with your journey. What got you to this point? What lessons did you learn along the way? Let's learn a little bit more about you.
Wow, that's a loaded question. It's been a long time coming. Actually, I was born and raised in Nigeria, West Africa, and actually was born and raised in the one of the southwestern villages, in Yoruba land in Nigeria. I mean, there are a lot of tribes in Nigeria, but one of the main big three is Yoruba. So my parents were pastors, primarily in villages. And by the time I was age 5, I had learned how to fast till 6 p.m. That is without water or food. So talking about abject poverty, it wasn't just like, because my parents were pastors, so you could think like it's a part of like spiritual development. Yeah, part of it was, but it was mostly had to do with food rationing. So get up early in the morning, like 4, with a kerosene powered lantern to go to the stream to fetch water, come back, and then do church early morning, um, 5 o'clock service, prayer meeting. And then after that, you go to school, but then school, you only just go there to go and play because, teachers went for months without getting paid. So there was really no opportunity to really learn really much of anything. Um, but I was fortunate to have a dad at the time who actually realized the importance of education. But meaning the fact that we weren't getting anything in the village, so my dad sort of forced me. And I mean, I'm the firstborn, so I have like 4 siblings, to memorize scriptures. So that was like the beginning of education pretty much for us, is memorizing Bible verses and recite that to him. Um, and anyways, that was like really my foundation, both spiritually, academically, as well as financially. And fast forward to age 10, I was sent to go and live with my aunt in the city, who was a widow, with her kids. And then just lived through that, and she really, really tried, to feed 5 kids plus me and other sibling, I mean other cousins as well. But anyways, age 17, 18, I also was sent to go and live with one of my uncles in another city. And then I was supposed to from there go to college. But then my result from high school came back, it was woeful results. And my uncle suggested that I go and learn to be a barber. And that was like where everything broke down for me, that I decided I needed to chart my own path in life. Obviously, my uncle disagreed, my father disagreed, my dad disowned me because I wasn't willing to follow through with what I was being directed to do. So I left home and then went and looked for my girlfriend and told her, hey, everybody left me. So, hey, I think maybe you should leave me too, you
Oh
know,
my goodness.
because I don't think I have a future, and I don't think, and she was 16 at the time. So I felt like, you're better off with someone that at least you're sure of. But she decided that she would stay with me. So I wept in that meeting with her and told her that if she would stay with me and go with us, that we will fulfill destiny together without or without anyone. So that kind of like gave me the boost to go and like, okay, I need to find out for myself, how can I get a better outcome for my life? Right? What we were taught in church or taught in school or at home, everyone trying to figure out, I mean, historically, everyone that's ever lived as always, I have to like, okay, how do I get a better result or outcome for my life? So that was the beginning for me to start asking very hard questions that no one was able or willing to answer for me that I had to find out myself. So that was the beginning for me. I threw myself into fasting. Don't try this because
No,
I
I'm
did.
a huge fan of fasting. I've done probably
Okay.
the longest fast is like a 30-hour fast. I'm an advocate for fasting. It's weird.
Okay, that's good. But this kind of fast is what I'm saying, don't try. This,
Okay.
I'm sure with your own fasting, you are drinking water,
No,
right?
I don't.
You
I
don't at
shut
all?
everything down. Yeah.
Yeah, well, so I threw myself into fasting. I was going to which no water, no food. And it was, I rather find out how to get a better outcome for my life or I die trying. So one day, I mean, it's first day, second day, third day, fourth day, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth day,
You
I
did 8 day
was,
fast.
I was, um, that's why I said don't try it because with no water for that many days, it could cause a lot of damages in your body. But again, like I said, I was really desperate. So it was on the eighth day that I didn't really have any access to books. So the only book really anyways, that was meaningful to me, I should say, at that time was the Bible. So I had this whole King James Bible, that was beside me. So I was obviously dehydrated, tired for not drinking water or eating for so many days. So I saw this statement in the verse, I mean, the Bible beside me that says, why do you look at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen? For the things which are seen are temporary, but things which are not seen are eternal. This changed everything for me. Saying that really the only thing that makes difference in anyone's life is your mind. That if you really, really, really want to change anything, pay attention to nothing else but what goes on in your mind and how you use it.
So
So that
powerful.
was the beginning for me. And over time is where this equation came out of.
So powerful. I don't even know where to start with all of this. So powerful. I can't imagine like 8 days with no water or no food. I know I've gone like 30 hours. That was the longest I was able to do. Um, but fasting is so rewarding. Like it shuts down your organs in a good way. Like I'm a huge fan of fasting because I think it allows us to access higher states of consciousness. And that's one of the reasons why I like it so much. I mean, all religions kind of point towards fasting, and like just listening to what you said made me reflect on Jesus being out in the desert for like 40 days and 40 nights. He was fasting, and then levels of temptation came to him. And that to me, that's where you overcome the self, the actual being that you are, and fight against the temptation of the physical world.
Agree with you 100%. One of the most powerful tools that actually helps the mind to get optimized is fasting. Bar none.
Yeah.
Bar none. There is nothing, there is no other tools that helps in optimizing the mind to function way beyond our normal day-to-day activities than fasting. but you just have to really know how to do it properly. And it's part of what I teach those who are interested or committed, anyways, on how to fast properly and getting the best out of it. So I totally agree with you. Fasting is very powerful.
Yeah, every time we notice, like I've even watched like our bodies naturally. Every time we get sick, we lose our appetite. And that's because the body is actually trying to heal through fasting. And it's
Yeah.
trying to do that somewhat naturally. So that's so intriguing. I love that. What made you discover this? Like, did you have anything that happened to you during your fasts that made you kind of uncover a truth or something along the lines of that?
Yeah, well, like I was saying in the story, what led me to that was I was really desperate, right? I didn't want to become a barber, but my parents were so poor that they couldn't afford to send me to college. Well, actually, uh, my result was poor, to be honest. That even if the money was available, the result I had wasn't enough to get me to a prestigious college or university. So that's by the way. But I was so desperate that I wanted to find out for myself, right? My dad was a pastor, like I said, and he had been a pastor way before I was born, preaching, teaching, and do all different kind of things that pastors do. But then I had a lot of questions that he couldn't answer for me, right? Like for example, how is it possible for a pastor, for example, to perform exorcism, right? To drive out demons, so to speak, out of people, but the same pastor cannot create wealth for himself. All right.
Mhm.
Is the power to do one different from the other, or is it the same? All right. Because I saw my father being able to do one but wasn't able to do the other.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I wanted to know, like, is it the same ability? Or is it just there is God that determines what happens to each and every one of us and say, hey, you know what? You can have a miracle regarding your health, say for example, but the same God then now decided and said, oh, but you can't have money. I mean, that perplexed my mind as a boy, as a teenager.
yeah,
Like, do we have control over what happens to us? Or there is this force we call God, or we call Jehovah, or Jesus, or whatever you call your God that determines what happens to us, and we have really no control over it. I wanted to know those things, right? So
yeah,
that was part of what pushed me to, I want to know if I have control over my own human experiences or not.
yeah.
Well, I just have to pray and hope that, you know, God answers my prayers like I was taught growing up. So that's pretty much the foundation for me.
Uh, that's so heavy. Tell me, what was your conclusion? Is it our free will or is there a predetermined destiny? What conclusion have you drawn so far about this?
Um, hmm. My conclusion is that there is no predetermination.
Mm,
My conclusion is that we determine our outcomes in life, either
I
good
love it.
or bad.
Yes.
It doesn't really matter. But even though it's hard for our brain to actually come to that understanding or conclusion, we tend to like, if it's something good, we pat ourselves on the back, right? Like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah.
I'm proud of myself.
Yeah.
And we want to be celebrated. But then when something bad happened, no, it's not my fault.
No?
I don't want to take responsibility for that. It's always someone else's fault.
Yeah. I'm the
And I want to
victim.
point fingers to that person, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the
Right?
victim. You did this
And
to
if I can
me. Yeah.
And if I can't find a physical person to point a finger to, I point it to the devil, the one I
Mhm.
can't, see, right?
So true. Oh my God, so true. Wow, so true. You have to find something to blame.
Yes,
Yeah,
but myself.
but yeah. That really like it so speaks to accountability and responsibility. The responsibility that we have over our mind and the way that it thinks, and the
Yeah.
responsibility we have towards ourselves and our life and the impact that we're going to have on this planet while we're here. Like we're only here for a very short period of time, and we got to figure this out.
Yeah. Before time runs out, right?
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I wanted to do is to figure it out. Even though, yeah, I was still a teenager, I wanted to figure it out for
Now,
myself, not for others, for myself.
yes, you have an interesting equation of life behind you. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this equation actually came out of this discovery. Obviously, it didn't come at that specific moment as an equation,
Uh-huh.
right? It's pieces and bits from that statement that became this equation over time,
Okay.
right? Because there is one of the things that that especially those who are really mindful of life is that we have come to realize that there is one thing that we have to continue to improve on, and that is our mind. And that is the concept of Kaizen, right? Continuous improvement. So, continually improving how my mind works to produce the outcome that I desire. Um, and that is what grew to this equation. So the statement again from 2 Corinthians 4:18 is where that came from. And it says, why do we look at the things which are seen, but the things which are not seen? For the things which are seen are temporary, but things which are not seen are eternal. So if you look at that, you're going to have to really look very well to find this equation all in there. Because I've shown it to many people and they will read it, and they're like, I don't see how this equation come out of this. But like I said, I brought this out of that because I wanted to figure it out to really get a better outcome for myself. All right. Not because I wanted to teach it to others. Now that can sound, you know, uh, selfish, but I have to figure it out for myself first before I can say, you know what, I can, like they said in the airplane, right? That you have to put the oxygen on yourself first before you try to help someone else. So much my philosophy is I need to figure this out for myself. If I'm able to figure it out for myself, then maybe I can share with others. All right. So that the equation is Oscar equals Sierra square, Charlie India multiplied by Alpha Romeo. The O is outcome. So like we just talked about now, right? Outcomes in our life, is it predetermined by our creator, or do we create it for ourselves? Right? So outcome, be it good or bad, up or down, whatever it might be. Outcome, which is pretty much our experiences, is determined on this other side of the equation, which is S squared is spiritual and subconscious and conscious identity.
Heavy
Multiplied,
stuff. I love it. Oh my goodness.
yeah, multiplied by attention and repetition.
Wow. Oh
Okay.
my God. Speaking my language right now.
Yeah, I know. So that's the equation outcome, right? So if you look at it, this is how I'm breaking it down for myself, right? And get the opportunity to teach it to others and as well as coach it as well, to coaching clients. All right. So Oscar, which is again your outcome. The outcome is only in three areas of life. It really doesn't matter what you look at. All the outcomes in life is in three areas. One, relationship. Two, health. Like we just talked about your organs and your body and your mind, right? Health. And then third, your the wealth.
Yeah.
Everything is traceable to these three outcomes. So relationship, health, and wealth. And then these three then lead to what I called purpose, our purpose in life, which everyone from Adam till now trying to figure out why we're here. And we've had different, I mean, for so many books I've read, honestly, all of them got me confused because everyone have different idea of what purpose is. Why are we here? So the three things, the relationship, right, the outcome in relationship, in health and wealth, lead to what I call purpose. And the purpose is the same for everyone. You don't have a different purpose from me. I don't have a different purpose from any all the over 8 billion people on the earth. So the personal purpose and collective purpose is one and the same, which in my own understanding, it is to feel good. That's it. Our purpose for living is to feel good. It doesn't matter what else you experience, whatever you have, right? You talk about um, getting married, is to feel good. You talk about having kids, children, is to feel good. About yourself, what you're able to create, business is the same. Making or earning money is the same. Health, it is the same. It doesn't really matter what you look at. Becoming a president is to feel good. Everything is to feel good. To have money is to, and when you don't, you feel terrible. And it's like you're losing your mind. You're losing life.
Yeah.
So everything, why we exist on this earth, is for one purpose only, and the purpose is to feel good. Right? And that is the outcome we are looking for. Right? That's the outcome. But how do we get there? To get there, we need to know who we are. Like the Greek said, right? Know thyself. Right? So what's my spiritual, right? What's my spiritual? Who am I? And I ask my clients that a lot of time and have not found one person, honestly, that I've been asking that question to answer correctly. People usually say, when you say, who are you? They can tell you I am Sam. So, and I said, hey, so you're telling me you are your name? And then get them confused, like, okay, what are you asking? Who are you? And some say, well, I'm an American. Okay, so you are your country of origin? Or and some say,
Right.
oh, I'm black.
Yeah.
Okay, are you telling me your color of your skin? Oh, I'm a Christian. Oh, you are your religion or belief system? I mean, like really people point out to all different things that is not who they are. So who are you? What's your spiritual identity?
Yeah.
Right? And then your subconscious identity, who have you been told that you are? And that starts from our parents, right? A parent tells us all different kind of things who they say we are. They will say, oh, you are a Khan, for example, right? That's your last name.
Yeah.
And this is what we don't do in this family. And that's what we do in this family. And that's your identity,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So conscious identity, what we have been told that we are, that we have believed that we are,
Yeah.
but that, right? And then there is the conscious identity, which is who do you call you? Who do you say you are?
I
Who
mean,
do you
if you ask me that question, the evolved Alia will say to you, I'm a spiritual being that has a mind that's creating her physical reality. That's who I identify with. I know that I'm spiritual first and foremost, and that's the eternal part of me. I know that I have a mind because I know how to change it. I know how to navigate it. I've played around with it. I've created the experiences I wish to create. So I played around with it. I know that I have a mind, and that's the centerpiece of control. And this physical reality is just the matrix that I'm experiencing life in this three-dimensional world in. And what's fascinating about it is that, I didn't start out this way. I fed information into the mind. And then what happened is the mind started to use that information against me because I didn't feed it good information. And
Yep.
then I had to fix the programs in the mind. So when you say subconscious plus spiritual squared, I know exactly what you're talking about because, well, I had to get into the subconscious and say, okay, if my results look like this, what do I have wired in there that's causing this result? And
Yeah.
sort through that and know thyself really speaks to sorting through all of that and recognizing, like, who am I? It's not a
Yeah.
name, it's not a color,
Hmm.
it's not an ethnicity, it's not an identity. That's not who I am. I am a spiritual being first and foremost, created by the divine. And I have a mind. He gave me a mind and he said, you know what? You have control in your mind. You can go left or right at any given moment.
Hmm.
So there's an element of free will that's in there. And
Yeah.
then, and that will determine your outcome.
Yeah.
So the better I get at understanding mind, the better I get to change the outcome that I experience. I love your equation of life. I absolutely love it. It's the first time I've seen it presented in that manner, but oh my God, it's amazing. It's genius.
Yeah, and that speaks to the other part, which is the AR, the attention, right?
Yes.
Which is what is your mind focused on? What do
Yeah.
you what and how do you think, feel, and say? Right? Both what you say to yourself and what you say to others, right? So that is the attention, what your mind is feeding on and producing as well, right? Your attention, what you're thinking, feeling, and saying. And then the repetition is then your actions. What are you doing, right? But that what you're doing is produced by what you're thinking, feeling, and saying.
Yeah.
So in a sense, you can see like the actions and behaviors are more like a result of your thinking, right? Of your feeling and also what you are saying, right? So that is what creates our outcome. So our identity, right? Spiritual, subconscious, and conscious identity with what our mind focus on in thinking, feeling, and saying,
Yeah.
and then what we're doing, repetition. That controls my outcome. So when I figure this out, I'm like, okay, I can determine what happens to me, really. I don't have to wait for God anymore to determine. Yeah, there is in the human experience, there is the time, which is the construct of human being. But even though I might have to wait for that outcome, I know for sure it's coming. For
Yeah.
as long all this lines up, my identity with my attention and my repetition lines up, it's just a matter of time. The outcome that I have in mind will come to pass
Yeah.
for sure. And I'm talking about myself. I'm not talking about everyone
Right.
outside of my life,
No. Uh,
external to me. I'm not
yeah.
talking about the whole world, just me.
Right. No, I hear you completely on that. I think time is the realm that belongs to God, but us taking the action and bringing our attention, like visually writing, speaking, and listening, the attention that we bring to something, the time is left to God. Like God will determine divine timing. Like that's his realm of operation. So I don't try to get wound up over the timing part. If not, I would drive myself crazy.
Mhm.
But if I set the intention and bring my attention to the intention on a regular basis,
Yeah.
then I'm picking up that momentum and moving quickly to that desired outcome. I know that I'm increasing the probability of that outcome coming, drawing that into my life.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think we're conscious co-creators. God gave us the capacity to create. It said lets us create. We create houses that we live in, we create clothing that we wear, we creators. Every moment of our day, we're constantly creating, even if we're creating good stuff, or the majority of people probably creating bad stuff. They're sitting around thinking about the things they don't want to experience versus thinking about the things they want to experience. And that's the shift I want people to just kind of open up their awareness to. Like, don't think about the outcome you don't want. Stay
Yeah.
focused on the outcome that you do want. Your outcome matters. And that repetition part of it, just
Yeah.
constantly reminding yourself of it when people do that for negative reasons, like they constantly remind themselves of negative trauma from the past over and over again. Break the
Yeah.
cycle. Break the
Yeah.
cycle. Yeah.
And that's the very first you just alluded to. That's the very first identity spiritually that we are, what you just said right now. We are first and foremost creators.
Mhm.
And you look at pretty much all the religious books, for example, the Bible, very first statement
Yeah.
in the Bible, Genesis 1:1, so in the beginning, God created.
Yes.
And
That,
then
that's it.
you keep reading, and that gets to a point where I say he created humans in his image.
Yes.
So if, if that's a conditional statement, right? A word. If we are created, and our creator, the very first thing we know of him or her, or however you categorize
Right.
God, in the beginning is that creates. Then, and we are created in his image, then we are first and foremost creator of
Yeah.
our own human experiences. And Jesus even alluded to that also, right? When he said, oh, I am my father and the same. And they wanted to kill him. And he said, well, isn't that written in your Torah that you are Elohim? Right? It's
Yeah.
the same one in Genesis 1, right? Where he says, and in the beginning, Elohim created heaven and the earth.
Yeah.
And then Jesus now says, isn't it written in your Torah that you are Elohim? It's the same word.
Yeah.
So, first and foremost, we are creators,
Yeah.
creators of our own human experiences. Like you said, we create the clothes, we create houses, we create babies, right? We create everything that is quote unquote good for us. But then the one that is not so good, no, we didn't create that one. The
Yeah.
devil.
We don't want to take credit for that.
We don't want to take credit for those ones at all. But it doesn't matter. Take credit or not. I created it.
I say take credit for the bad. You know what? Like, I always take credit for the bad. I observe when bad things happen and I stop and I reflect and I say, okay, what thoughts did I have that led to this outcome? Because there's always a trigger point
Mm.
of where I shifted a thought. And sometimes I may do this unconsciously. I shift a thought just because I'm programmed that in a negative manner towards a certain aspect of life. Every time I've ever caught that I shifted a thought, I rewire it. That's all I do. I rewire it, I readjust it. But you see, if you're not taught to do this, you don't know that you have the ability to do it. And
Yeah.
that's, that's what makes what I do so like important to me, and what you do, and having people share this, because that repetition to rewire the mind
Mhm.
is what changes the outcome. It's what changes
Yep.
the outcome. And we're programmed to think, our society, our
That is so
culture
correct. And
programs us
only
to
if we can.
think.
Are you tired of feeling stuck? Unable to reach your personal goals? Imagine unlocking the powerful duality of your mind to propel yourself towards success. With our mental duality guide, you can finally achieve the personal development you've always desired. This guide is not just another self-help book. It's a transformative resource designed to help you harness the hidden powers of your mind, guiding you through the building blocks to create a structured approach to goal setting and achievement. What's in it for you? Clarify your goals. Learn how to define what you truly want in life, overcome mental blocks, identify and dismantle the barriers holding you back, boost your confidence. Develop a stronger belief in your ability to succeed, achieve consistent progress, implement strategies that keep you moving forward even when challenges arise. But how do I know this is real? Countless individuals have transformed their lives using our techniques. One user, after applying the principles from the guide, reported a 91% increase in productivity and a newfound clarity in their life direction. Here's the story. Like many, they struggled with conflicting thoughts and feelings about their goals. After engaging with our guide, they learned to balance their rational thinking with emotional insight, leading to breakthroughs they never thought possible. And what are the guarantees? We stand by our guide with a 100% satisfaction guarantee. If you don't see progress within 30 days, we'll refund your purchase. No questions asked. Why now? The longer you wait, the longer your dreams remain out of reach. Don't let this opportunity pass you by. Take action today and start your journey toward personal growth and achievement. What do you have to lose? Nothing but your limitations. Join the ranks of those who have discovered their potential through our mental duality guide. Act now and unlock the door to your future.
Yeah, where everything that we know came from is as a result of thoughts and experiences, right? Before we get to have experiences, we have thoughts first. And the thought comes from everyone around us, starting with our parents, right? Like the example I just gave, right? The
Yes.
parents tell you who you are and how you behave and you what you must do and all of that. And the first 7 years of life is called the theta mind, which is a mind that is essentially the subconscious mind. Everything just goes on. There's no filter, right? And then we get to school, and then the teacher started teaching us what is already all created to get programmed into our mind, right? With that, we get into religious practices, the churches or mosque or wherever you worship, and then we get programmed even more, right? And then we get into workspace, we become young adults, or we go into college or whatever, more programming. But along the way, we started to practice the programming, right? We started to practice, and those practices then now yield experiences, right? So, and then now we are proven through our experiences that what we were taught is correct because now we have proof that it's true. So this is what get a whole lot of people bogged down that how can I change my life? How can I get a different outcome where everything I've been told, as well as my experiences, has proven to me that this is what truth is. And then someone now comes along as Alia saying, oh, actually, you can reprogram all of that. Like, what do you mean? It perplexes people. Like, you can actually change your outcome. Doesn't really matter what you're going through or what you've been through. You can change it by just reprogramming your mind. Obviously, there are different techniques, different approaches on how you can do that. But that only is possible by, first of all, knowing that it is possible. That by changing your mind, you can change your human experiences. But if you just think that everything is the hand of God, right? I just need to pray, and hope that God answers my prayers, then you'll be waiting for a very long time. But if you know that you are first and foremost, your identity spiritually is a creator, and that you can create what you desire in life, that changes everything. Because then now you can start to play. Like for me, I started playing with the ideas, right? Like, what can I create? What do I actually really desire? And at that point in my life, I desired to be in college.
Yeah.
So I started, like, that's the outcome I wanted, right? To be in college. I started playing with this idea. Like, how can I be in college? If I were in college, how would I be behaving, right? What would I be doing? what would be different? And in my mind, I played different scenario of being in college, raising my hand in class, asking professors questions. I mean, playing all different kind of dramas in my head. And within 6 months, I was in college.
Wow.
And then I was like, huh, this a fluke, or
Yeah.
this is real. So I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm going to play a bigger drama in my head, right? Like, okay, now I know my identity is like I create my own experiences, right? And then this is actually also what empowers that is then not only just thinking that, but actually playing scenario in my head of what the outcome look like for me and repeating that. So I started thinking, so I set a bigger outcome for myself to live in America, right? And I started playing with this same thing again, just knowing that my identity as a creator, right? As a creator of my own human experiences, and then start to think, feel, and say to myself, not to anyone else, to myself, that I'm actually living in America right now, even though I was in a village in Nigeria.
Wow.
And actually start to talk to people as if I'm living an American. Within 3 years of doing this, I was in America.
Wow.
Within 3 years. So I'm like, okay, this worked. But then getting here, I got exposed to even more knowledge than I've ever experienced or had before. So I would say for a moment, I got sidetracked, started to like chasing all different kind of things. But then I came back to like, how did you get here? Did you get here by chasing everything around you, or do you just sit down to who you are and create your experience? So with this, you got to go to college, and then actually free of charge. I didn't pay a dime for my college education. Joined the U.S. Army as an infantryman, and get with deployment experience to Afghanistan. Even this same thing, actually, I can tell you stories upon stories. Saved my life in Afghanistan
Wow.
as an infantryman in the U.S. Army, right? So I can say that for me, this works because of one, I was able to realize that actually I have a say on my human experiences. I don't have to wait for anyone. I can determine the outcome of my life only if I, one, understand this equation that I call the equation of life and apply it every single day. And my outcome, my life experiences just start to unfold and continue to unfold.
Who were some key influences? Who molded your thought process? Was it just the Bible, or were there people that you kind of started to follow and read and study?
I would say everyone, honestly, that I've ever come across in my life have an influence. And all the influences, regardless of how anyone look at it, I look at all of them as positive today because he molded who this person has become, right? So from my father, mother, my siblings, my cousins, aunties, uncles, I mean, pretty pastors or whoever I've ever everyone added something
Yeah.
to my life that I view today as positive. Because if I didn't have those experiences, I wouldn't become the person that I am today. So I would say a big thank you, honestly, a big thank you to everyone because I get to learn one or two things from them, even though they might not know it, right? And some actually, like, I talked of my uncle that wanted me to become a barber. That's honestly, I view that as a positive thing today, right? Because if that didn't come from him, I wouldn't get to a point whereby my father also disowned me, to a point whereby then I had to go and figure out how to design life for myself. So it's all positive, right? because one thing led to the other. So
Yeah.
I learned pretty much from everyone, right? But then if you're talking about mentors, like specifically the who can I, if I have to point to one person or persons that have had huge what do you call it? Influence on my life. I would say Jesus, reading through the Bible. But the way I read is not conventional like everyone else. I don't read the Bible like most people do. And for Jesus, for example, I really like see this, for example, right? Jesus had to pay tax and temple tax, and it was him and Peter, and they asked them, all right, whether this was true or not, I don't know, but it's just really how I see this. And then he asked Peter, um, do who pay taxes? The foreigners or the citizens? And he says, oh, the foreigners. Well, then we are free. We're not supposed to pay taxes. However, not to piss anyone off, go to the river, cast your line, and pick, and the very first fish you catch, open its mouth. There is a coin in there. Bring it and come and use it to pay the tax. That for me, I asked the question, how did his mind know all of this? How did the mind of Jesus know that there was a coin in the mouth of a specific fish in a river? I mean, that blew my mind. I wanted to know how can a mind of a person how can my mind understand that and be able to actually make that happen? How can I optimize my mind to be able to see things that an ordinary eyes cannot see? How is my mind? These are part of the things like for me that influences me is that I wanted to know for myself again, how can I create things that already existed but not in my possession yet, right? The money was not in Jesus's possession, but it was somewhere else. But how did the mind be able to know that? So that is like my number one influencer, I would say, is the person of Jesus. But then there are tons and tons of books that I can't point to any specific human being, because again, I read a lot of books, and I would say, like I said, of everyone that I've come across in life, as I did one thing or the other, every book I've read and I still continue to read are also helping to help shape my mind and how to think and how to create things and bring an experience from within. And that is what pretty much the outcome is. Outcome for me are not goals that I'm setting, right? It's not, oh, I want to achieve this. I see outcome not as goals, I see outcomes as pregnancy, right? It's something that I'm already impregnated with,
Yeah.
that I already have
Yes.
in what you call spiritual realm, so to speak, or in
Yes.
a different state.
Yeah.
But then that I have then to give birth to and bringing that into my human 3D human experiences. So
Wow.
that is how I say in
Yes.
not goals of, oh, I have to achieve this. If I don't do this, no, 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 no. It's something that I already have. I'm already impregnated with that I'm just giving birth to.
I love that. I love that because that's what I refer to as inspiration. It's the spirit within that's telling you. It enlightens your imagination and it lights you up and it says, this is the path. This is what you're supposed to do. The problem is that we allow fear to block us from taking that next
Mm,
step. But oh my gosh, so beautifully said. It is something that we have to nurture every idea, every vision, as long as it's a vision for good or the greater good, on the planet, we
Yeah.
need to nurture that vision. We need to make sure that vision comes forth.
Yeah, yeah. It's ongoing, right?
Yeah.
It's think about it again as a woman who is pregnant, right? A woman is pregnant, have what you just said now, nurturing,
Mm,
right?
mhm.
Doesn't have goals of, oh, I have to give birth in 3 months or else. No,
Right.
you don't have control over that, right? You have to nurture. I've never been pregnant physically. My wife has. So, at least twice, and I've been able to watch the process, right,
Uh-huh.
of nurturing that baby in the womb, which includes like eating properly, resting well, exercise, going to the doctor, preparing for the baby, buying baby stuff, and that is all nurturing, right? It's the same thing we do with outcomes in life, even though, again, scientifically, we have not been really taught on how to do this. Even religiously as well. And because I couldn't find anyone who could teach this to me anyways, it's one of the ways I would say that by again being pregnant with it, I'm able to give birth to this equation,
Uh,
right? And giving birth to it in such a way that it is mine, I'm able to actually work it to get the outcome or the experiences that I desire out of my human experiences. So it's not, again, it's not a goal or goals. I'm trying to achieve this. I want to become a millionaire. I want to be healthier, or I want to have a better relationship. No, it's something that already exists within me that I just need to nurture, like you said, until I give birth to it. And keep nurturing, keep preparing. That's another word also, prepare,
yes.
right? Keep
Preparation.
preparing and preparing, as the Greek says, like victory loves preparation, right?
Yes.
So as you continue to prepare, I continue to prepare, and then I give birth. And when I give birth, the baby is here and I'm happier, so to speak, or I feel good, right? Which is again the purpose that I said, like, I feel good. But then think about it. We don't have just one outcome in life, meaning that we don't just have one pregnancy, right? You can be pregnant over and over and over and over again with different babies, so to speak, or even at one time, you can be pregnant with twins or triplets, right? Or
Yes.
quadruplets. So this is ongoing nurturing pregnancy, and you keep giving birth until your time is up here on this plane of existence. So I look at life, my own life, from this lens. So I don't get to put any unnecessary pressure on myself that, oh, I have to achieve this if I don't do this in 3 months. Oh, I have 90 days goals. Oh, like right now, beginning of the year, people have a New Year resolution. By March, I must be this thinner or lose this many. I don't have that kind of goals for myself. I
Yeah.
just look inward. What am I impregnating myself with, all right? Or what is within me that I have to give birth to, right? And then with that, I just go through the process of nurturing, which has to do with, again, the identity. I have to remind myself every single day who I am, right? Who I am. And then also, what are my attention? What do I focus my mind on daily that I'm thinking, feeling, and saying, right? And also my actions, repetitions. What do I repeat? And doing this, I know just going through the process of nurturing, the outcome will come for sure. That I can guarantee. And anyone who applies this or who are committed to applying this, they can see the results. It works for me. I think it can work for others if they apply themselves to it.
How do you get people to be disciplined to want to continue forward? Because the repetition part is about discipline.
Yeah.
So how do you develop discipline within yourself or within others that you might be coaching?
So one thing is, how really desperate are you to get a different outcome than you have right now? So what happens with a whole lot of us is we are you mentioned something like this earlier about the programming, right? Our mind has been so programmed to the extent that we can find it difficult to change the programming. Like I want to change the code within the software, right? If you are not desperate to change your outcome, I repeat, you cannot be disciplined. But if you are desperate for a different outcome, you will be disciplined. It will come to you naturally, really, because you are tired of where you are or what you're experiencing. For most people, they are comfortable where they are. Unless something pushes them, which is desperation, they won't be disciplined. So that is number one, that you have to be desperate to give birth to something else than what you're already giving birth to that you don't like, which is your experiences and your outcome. So that is one way. But if you are much younger, meaning that you are in your late teens or you are in your 20s or early 30s, if you are not desperate enough to get a different outcome, I suggest go and join the military because they will force you to be disciplined. Right? You
They
would have,
sure will. I absolutely believe that.
but that is if you are younger than 40.
Mhm.
Obviously, you can go and get into the program that actually will reprogram your mind to be disciplined. But if you're over 40, the only way for you to be disciplined is to be desperate. There is no other way.
I love it. So powerful. Thank you for your service to this country. Thank you for sharing some amazing insights and knowledge. What are your goals as you're moving forward, Sam?
Well, thanks. It's really a privilege to serve this country. I will tell you that I gain from serving a lot of things. Like I said earlier on, right, that everything and everyone I came through actually taught me something or some things. So serving the military actually taught me a whole lot of things that I don't think I would have learned if I didn't go into the army. All right. So it's a privilege, honestly, to have served this great country that gave me the opportunity to come here and stay legally. As far as goals is concerned, like I just mentioned, I don't have any goals. I only have pregnancies that I
Okay.
have to go to. So if that is what you're leading to, I will give you my answers. What?
Anything you're pregnant with that you want to share with us?
All right. So part of what I am pregnant with is to change racism in America.
Mm,
A whole lot of Black people who have Black skin or color skin have been programmed to believe that someone or people that don't look like them determines the outcome of racism that they experience. And I know this is a very controversial subject
it
that
is.
some people are going to say, what are you talking about? You want to tell me that Black people, so to speak, are the one responsible for all the atrocities?
Mhm.
Well, I can teach anyone who is open-minded to actually go through the process of how identities are formed, right? So that is part of what I'm pregnant with, is to actually change the narrative at the same time being able to change the outcome of people of color, so to speak, in America. so they can actually enjoy life rather than having to, point fingers and, some people don't want this for me or whatever. Like, no, you only need to focus on you, right? And I can teach whoever that is who is open-minded. So that is one of the things that I'm pregnant with. Another thing that I'm pregnant with that I can share also is for Africans in Africa. Um, you may or may not know this. Africa has the most resources, I mean, natural resources in all of the continents. But per capita, Africans are the poorest. And you ask the question, how is this so? How can the people who have most resources be the poorest? And this goes again to the equation, right? It's pretty much the foundation for everything. If you don't know who you are, obviously your outcome's going to suffer. And if your mind is focused on something else, apart from the outcome that you desire, obviously your outcome will show that. And what you continuously do also, all this come it again, what I'm pregnant with is to change the mindset of Africans in Africa to be able to change their outcome. And the third one, well, actually, let me stop there. There is so much that I believe I am pregnant with that I really believe will change lives of people, if not the world as a whole. I believe what I'm pregnant with actually can change a lot of people's lives.
Sam, I love what you said there. I have to tell you, like, personally, in my own experience, I have been trying to get people away from this concept of even black or white, because no human is black and no human is white, the actual color.
Yeah,
And it's very hard to condemn somebody when you have to call them their actual shade. At
yeah,
least that's the way that I see it. And we were able to see them for their true essence when we're able to just identify this is just the avatar. This does not mean anything. It's just the avatar that we came into this earthly experience in. This is our bodysuit.
yeah,
The color of spirit, whatever that color is, that's in all of us.
yeah,
That's every single one of us. We're the same shade. I promise you, we're the same shade. This earth suit comes in different colors. And this earth suit um, has to open up its awareness and its mind and understand that we do play in a realm that strives to keep us back or strives to keep us down one way or another. We do play in this realm, but we have to break out of those chains. That's us, because the chains are in the mind based on the impression that was impressed upon our mind when we're young. And we have to break the bonds of those chains. And the only way we start to do it is we start to see, just like you said, know thyself. And who am I? Like, who am I? I'm
yeah,
not, I'm not Aaliyah. That's a name given by my parents.
yeah,
I'm not, you know, I'm not any of the labels, any of the egoic labels that I could slap upon myself. I'm not any of those things. I choose the labels. I choose how I wish to be identified. I choose how I wish to be presented. And when that control comes back to us, we shift out of that victim state. And all of us have mind and have spirit and have a physical existence, all of us. That's exactly how we operate. And once we master the mind, we master the physical experience.
yeah, that is so correct. And
Yeah.
I actually am creating a course around all these concepts as well, both scientifically to prove what you just said now, that you are not any of these things. But but explaining it in a very scientific, simple way that you don't need anyone convincing you.
Yeah.
for you to actually realize that who you are. A few months ago, I actually went back to school to this. This actually, I had to find a way to not get myself in trouble. I went back to school for clinical mental health counseling, not because I wanted to become a therapist, but I wanted to learn neuroscience. And I couldn't find any school actually that just look at neuroscience from a layman perspective.
Yeah.
Most of the neuroscience PhD program actually has to do with looking at the functionality of the brain with diseases and sickness and all of that. I'm not really interested in that. Not that it's not good, obviously, everything is good, depending on how it is used. But I really wanted to know, how does a brain function? Where does the brain come from? How does the brain grow? When does that even happen?
Yeah.
In the womb, when does the skin actually show up also? When does the heartbeat start?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wanted to know that. So one of these classes I took in the master's program is called Human Development. So with that, I was actually able to find out that when a baby is conceived, right, and all this is obviously in my contents as well, the courses I'm creating, right, that the heartbeat doesn't show up until 21 days after conception.
Yeah.
So a question that any thinking human should ask it, what existed before the heartbeat showed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
What existed before the heartbeat showed up in the womb, 21 days after. And then the brain actually doesn't start to form until 4 weeks after conception.
Yes.
So the brain that we even then now identify ourselves with
Yeah.
doesn't show up until 4 weeks after. What was existing, or what even is causing the brain to grow 4 weeks after conception? And then the people who consider themselves black or brown or white, whatever, the what actually is considered to be the foundation for creating your skin or skin color doesn't show up until 6 to 8 weeks.
Mm-hmm. So
That
true.
concept, right?
Yeah.
And that doesn't solidify until the third trimester. So, but if we don't understand all these basic things, we can be identify ourselves with all different kind of labels, like what you said,
Yes.
right? Being identified by our names, being identified by our skin color, identify with our even our brain, with our behavior. Say, oh, this is who I am. This is who, no, that is not who you are. That's who you have been told that you are and that you are calling yourself, but that is not who you are. So
Yes.
all these are obviously putting into my courses to be able to, what I'm giving birth to actually help people to realize that you are not what you called yourself or what you've been told that you are. And if you can understand who your true identity is, and then how to use your mind, your brain correctly, you can shape all the outcomes in your life, regardless of where you might be right now.
Yeah.
So I didn't mean to go into that rabbit hole of science.
I love it. I love it, Sam. Thank you so much for that. Like I love the work that you're doing. How can people connect with you?
How you can go to my website. I have actually two organizations, a betteroutcome.com. That is a for-profit organization where we do coaching, we do training seminars for individuals as well as for groups. But then we have a non-for-profit, which is a superior life, the superior life .org. Sorry, the superior place. Even the focus is on living a superior life. So thesuperiorplace.org is a non-for-profit organization that is focused on giving back to those who might not be able to afford for-profit arm, right? Be it individuals or churches or non-for-profit organization. We're partnering also with non-for-profit organizations who are open to helping people to reshape their life, reshape their outcomes as well. So you can reach me in those two websites, abetteroutcome.com or thesuperiorplace.org. And you can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn as well. You can search my name, Sam Ayeni, and you'll be able to find more information about what we do.
Sam, thank you so much for being on the show. Thank you for everything you shared. I wish you so much abundance in your path forward. I just think what you're doing is so incredible and so amazing, and I'm happy to support you. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Alia, for having me on your program to be able to contribute to your people and the individuals and teams and organizations that you support. Thank you so much, Alia.